Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabby and today we're going to be talking about all of the things that I have knit so far. If you see me looking down, I have a notebook with all of the projects that I have made. I had to go through my camera roll actually because I didn't discover Ravelry until like a few months into my knitting. So I had to go through all of my pictures and see like all of the things that I've completed. Honestly, it's not even all of them. There was a lot of things that I had started and not finished or frogged or whatever. So these are all at least the notable things that I have knitted or things that are like monumental in terms of my learning process. So it first started with crochet. That was my first like fiber hobby that I got into. And I always loved the look of knitted garments, but I was just so intimidated by it for some reason. So I started with crochet and I made a couple crochet things like a cardigan. I made my own sweater. And it was a lot of self-drafting because at the time I didn't realize that like patterns were really a thing until I discovered like patterns on YouTube. And so I was just doing like YouTube patterns or self-drafting things until I discovered Ravelry, and that's where everything changed. We'll start with the first swatch that I ever made. I'll insert a picture. It's terrible. This was in November 2023. I had just learned from a YouTube tutorial and I'm pretty sure my stitches are twisted. It was just a flat panel, so there's rowing out. I think my purls were way tighter than my knit stitches. It just looks really bad, but I was really proud of that because I'm like, wow, next journey in my fiber artistry. Yeah, I mean, we all have to start somewhere, right? I practiced that a couple of times. That might have been like my third or fourth attempt because I just like couldn't figure it out. But it's hard. Since I learned crochet first, I was just used to working with like one hand. And so it was hard for me to like figure the two-handed thing with the, yeah. So that took some time to figure out, but we got there. I have my first swatch in November, and then I know all of my dates I have here are like the times I have these projects finished, so I'm not entirely sure like the time frame that I was working on them. Some things I had touched base on and then set aside and worked on other things and whatever, but this is just like a rough estimate. So I was working on, obviously, a Sophie scarf. I think everyone at some point in the beginning of their knitting career makes a Sophie scarf. And I honestly didn't even buy the pattern. I just found like how to start a Sophie scarf on YouTube. And I just kind of went from there. I didn't even actually follow the pattern, but I made 3 different ones and they're all just made from like acrylic yarns. I didn't really like the look of like the double wrap and then the tie at the front. I like to wear bandanas like around my neck. So I just basically went off of the measurements of the size of my bandanas. That's typically how I wear them. And I think it's super cute. I will say I do want to make some more because the acrylic yarns I use are like obviously not the best quality. And knitting with acrylic sucks. It's not a good experience and I am learning that. Just coming from crochet, that's like what I had in my arsenal. So they're super cute and I do wear them all the time, but I definitely want to make some more Sophie scarves with like better quality yarn. And next that brings me to my checkered sweater that I made on my sentro. I crocheted the ribbing because I didn't know how to, 1, pick up stitches and 2, do ribbing. So it's a little combination. It is made of acrylic yarn. The nice thing about this project is it helped me understand the construction of a sweater. I just made a front panel, I made a back panel, and then I made the sleeves. I also didn't have confidence making flat panels on my centro. So the sweater is like double lined because with the centro, if you're not knitting flat, you make a tube, right? I basically just made like 3 different tubes, alternating colors to give you the checkerboard effect. I seamed all those together to make the front panel. And then I did the exact same thing for the back. And for the sleeves, I just did the 2 and 2. So it doesn't give like the checkered vibe, but close enough, right? The whole sweater is double the thickness and it's acrylic yarn. So it was so hot. It was so hot. It would make me sweat like crazy, but it was so cute and I was so proud of it. I do not have that sweater anymore because I sold it at one of my crochet markets that I worked. It is in the hands of somebody who will appreciate it much more than I did. It was really special because it taught me the constructions of a sweater. So that brings me to my next project, which is my beloved green sweater. I am so proud of this one. I knit this with Lion Brand Hue and Me. I think it was on 8mm needles, and I think the ribbing is on 6.5mm needles. But this one, I also knit in panels, so I knit it bottom up. I took the measurements for my checkered sweater and just kind of went off of that. So this was my first like knitted on needles. Honestly, based on my preferences now, it's like not my favorite kind of sweater because it's just thick. The yarn is really thick. It holds a really special place in my heart because I wore it on my first date with my boyfriend, and I just have a lot of really good memories with that one. And it has such a significant like role in my learning process. Yeah, I'm just really proud of that sweater. I don't think I will ever get rid of that one, to be honest with you. And so my next project after that, since I had the sweater thing down, I wanted to make a cardigan. I have it dated in April is when I finished this. This one was from a cardigan tutorial from Ashley Lillis. I'll link it below. And I used Lion Brand Thick and Quick for this one. It was my first ever like pattern that I followed. Since I'm a visual learner, I just like gravitated towards YouTube for tutorials because that was just the easiest way for me. I literally followed that thing from beginning to end, and I remember being so proud of the buttonholes. But again, it's just another really thick sweater made on really big needles with acrylic and wool blend on this one, but mostly acrylic yarn. Not the greatest experience, but also something I don't think I can get rid of because I'm just so proud of it. And it is really nice to wear, like when it's super cold out. It does keep me very warm. I think an honorable mention at this point was when I made my first hexagon cardigan, which was really sweet. This crochet, obviously. I made it out of like Karen 1 pound. I'll insert a picture. It's not knitting, but whatever. I think it still counts. This I have also sold since making it, but another garment that I was very proud of, especially being my first one. Okay, so this now brings me to, we're looking at July 2024. I made my first tank top, and this is following my very first written pattern. I think I found this on a YouTube video of like easy patterns for beginners or something. I honestly don't even remember. But this is the Swift Tank by Cool Stitches. So this was my first written pattern. I made a size 3, but I don't know what needles I used. It was in Big Twist cotton in sand and black. And also this was my first time doing stripes, which I was very proud of. Also my first time doing 2x2 rib. Definitely like another monumental pattern to have finished. This kind of really kickstarted the whole written pattern thing for me. So then I discovered Ravelry, and it's just like opened up a whole new world for me, right? I don't know why I was so intimidated like following a pattern. I think just like also the creative side of me was like, I like the challenge of like trying to figure it out myself. But there's something so nice about just being told what to do. Anyways, so yes, this opened up a whole new world for me. And so I made my first step-by-step sweater by Florence Miller. Not even really a sweater, it's short sleeve. And it was made with Karen Blossom cakes in the color Cabana. I used 5.5mm needles for the body, and the rib was 5mm. And I made the size 1. Obviously, being a new knitter, I didn't understand gauge. I just kind of went for it. And while the finished product is pretty cute, it was way too small for me. This helped me understand the importance of gauge. So obviously I had to make another one. But first I was like, okay, cool. So I made my first sweater pattern. And then I was really inspired to make some socks. And so this sparked my interest of trying different yarns. And so I took my first trip to my local yarn store. And I walked in there with the intention of getting something for socks. First of all, I just wanted to like admire and try to understand and get familiar with all of these new yarns. And it was so overwhelming. But I had this idea of like, okay, I want to make a pair of socks. I found the DK Weight vanilla socks by Crazy Sock Lady because that seemed a little less intimidating because the needles aren't as small as like a fingering weight sock. And I was so intimidated by like tiny needles because I was already so used to using like large needles. I purchased the Coop Knits Sock Yeah DK at my local yarn store in the color Demeter. I knit the size 2, and I think I used 3.25 millimeter needles for this. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I will say I learned a lot. I did a slip stitch heel flap and gusset. I don't love that construction. I'm still trying to figure out like what kind of socks I enjoy making because I haven't really figured out the right recipe for me, but I did a 2x2 rib on this one. They do not match. The row counts on each sock are different, but it looks close enough. It's totally fine. And they do fit me really good, but I honestly don't really wear them that much. I think because they're thick. They're DK weight socks, so they are thick. I tried wearing them in my Blundstones and they're just a little bit too thick for that. And also I'm a little bit precious about them because they're my first pair of socks. So I'm afraid to wear them too much because I don't want to ruin them. But that defeats the whole purpose of making socks, right? It's like, it's a practical thing. You're supposed to want to wear them, but yeah, I'm too precious about it. So hopefully I can figure out more of a recipe that suits an enjoyable knitting experience for me because I hate doing a slip stitch heel. So if you have any suggestions, please let me know because I would love to make more. I love the idea of making socks, but I just don't really enjoy the knitting process. As previously mentioned, obviously I had to make another step-by-step sweater. My second iteration was knit in loops and threads Luxe Merino tweed in the color cream and black. I had full intentions of striping the whole sweater, but after getting into it, I immediately knew I wasn't going to have enough black to stripe the whole sweater. So what I ended up doing was just striping the sleeves, and I think that was kind of a cute move. I held the yarn double, so I think that was a part of my problem, but I am pretty sure I hit gauge on this one. Now, I did not knit a gauge swatch, obviously. It definitely fit a lot better than my first one. So I knit the size 3, and so it fit me really well. It's a little bit too cropped for my taste, but whatever. This isn't a sweater that I have anymore. I have also sold this one at a market, but I was super proud of it, obviously. I did German short rows for the first time and a double folded collar for the first time. So that was awesome. I really like knitting German short rows. I have a lot of fun with that, actually. That's like one of my favorite parts of knitting a sweater. That was a project that taught me a lot as well. And then obviously sparked another step-by-step sweater. I'm a pattern repeater, if you can't tell. This one is also a big deal too because I went to a different local yarn store. I picked out some yarn and this was my first like expensive sweater. And so I purchased Barocco Ultra Alpaca Chunky in the color barley, and in the skein, I was like, oh, this is wonderful. I'm going to love this. I'm going to wear this. This is so soft. Well, I cannot talk. Okay, this one taught me a lot in the sense of I really enjoy knitting with natural fibers, but I do not like wearing them. It was so itchy, which is so unfortunate because it's such a beautiful sweater and I was so proud and so excited about this one. It was so cool to see the process of like blocking it before and after. Like that was the first time I had ever experienced like, wow, a yarn can change so much if you just get it wet. I wish I was able to tolerate it because I would say it's the best sweater that I had made so far. But since I couldn't tolerate the yarn, I did end up selling this at a market as well. The person who purchased this, I think, appreciates it much more than I could. But anyways, yeah. So I was so proud of that one. And so, okay. Then I start venturing out into some different patterns. Of course, like every other new knitter, I discovered petite knit fully. I don't think it really counted with my Sophie scarf, but I discovered petite knit garments. And so I made the cloud blouse. Well, okay. I purchased the cloud blouse pattern. I, at this point, didn't understand the importance of following the recommended yarn. And so while I followed the cloud blouse pattern, it's more like the cloud sweater because of the yarn I used, which is Knit Pick Snuggle Puff in the color Polywag. I think this yarn is discontinued now, but it was nice to work with. It's made of Pima cotton, so it's really soft. So because I realized how itchy the Ultra Alpaca was, which I think is like a wool and an alpaca blend, I completely shifted and went to cotton. That one I very much can tolerate, and this one has a whole story with it. So I buy this bright, like brat summer color, right? I discover I don't love it. It just doesn't look good on me. That color, while I love it, It just does not look good on me. And so I over dyed it with Rit dye in the color dark green. And so it made it more of like a true green color, which is super cute. But when I washed it, the cotton shrunk like significantly. It was too small. Like the sleeves were too short. I would try so hard to like stretch it out, but it just like would not. Because I over dyed it, I did have some yarn left over, but now it didn't match. And so I was afraid that if I went in to like add more length with the original color yarn, that if I over dyed it again, I would not be able to get it to match. And what was already dyed a darker green would be even darker. And then it would be obvious that I went back in to fix it. So I just, whatever. I just left it. There's that one. At this point, I also made another hexagon cardigan. This one's really cute. I made it with Karen macchiato cakes and I added like a little front tie to it. I was really proud of that. That one's super cute, but whatever. Back to knitting. And so now at this point, we're at November 2024 and I discovered the Olga sweater. I love a striped sweater. Let's just say that. I went back to my local yarn store and I got some superwash merino wool. I have now learned that I don't love superwash, but that's okay. This is all a part of the learning process, right? With this one, I knit the size small using Fiber Space Vivacious DK in the color oatmeal with Plymouth worsted merino superwash in blue spruce. With this one, I did enjoy the knitting process because like the superwash merino is like really springy. And so it was like nice on the needles and it was really fun doing the stripes. But when I bound off, I just did a regular knit bind off because I didn't understand that there are better techniques. And so it was way too tight on the bottom hem. It took me a while, but I was like, okay, mental note, I'm going to fix this at some point. But I was not confident enough to like unpick it and then pick up stitches and do like sweater surgery essentially. This sat in my dresser for a while before I touched it again, but I gained the confidence one day. I still had some extra yarn, and so I was like, while I'm at it, I'm just gonna add a little bit more length to it because it was a little bit too short. And so I added 2 stripes for length and then redid the ribbing and redid the bind off with an Italian bind off. And I love it so much more now. It fits a lot better. It looks a lot better. I will say the sleeves are a little bit long. So at some point I might have to go in and remove a stripe or 2 to fix that. But that is a problem for a later date. We'll just admire it as it is for now. Okay, so my next project, this goes back into the self-drafting. I made a self-drafted checkered cardigan. I knit this with Lion Brand Wool Ease in linen and black. And I held it double. And I knit this on 8mm needles. I'm not sure the ribbing. It might be closer to like 5.5, I think. I was like scrolling through Ravelry and I could not find like a checkered cardigan pattern that I liked anyways. In hindsight, I shouldn't have held the yarn double, but whatever, it's fine. This yarn is a little bit itchy. It was nice to work with. And it worked up quickly because I held it double and worked with 8mm needles. But I don't love the finished product, but making it was a lot of fun and it was a nice challenge for me. All the panels I knit flat except for the sleeves. So I did the 2 front panels and then I knit the back panel, seamed them together, and then did the sleeves. So I did this with intarsia, which was a lot of fun. I had not done that yet. So I had a lot of fun getting comfortable with that. It was really cool, like getting into the swing of things with that one. While in theory, I love how it looks, but the yarn is not comfortable. And it's such like a thick, almost jacket-like cardigan that I can only wear it like when it's really cold. I do love that one. It was a lot of fun, but it only serves a purpose certain times of the year, which is unfortunate because I want something that's a little bit more versatile, but that's okay. We'll just keep that as like a winter jacket. Okay, so since this was around Christmas time, I decided to make my first official gift knits. And so I made a hipster hat for my dad and I made a hipster hat for my brother. I don't have a picture of the one I made for my brother, but the one for my dad I do have a picture of. I honestly don't even remember what I knit that in. I can insert that. I had a lot of fun with that one. I wanted to keep it for myself, but my dad really liked it. So more gift knits. The next one I made was the Sunday socks by Petite Knit. And what's funny about this one is I only had one sock finished for my boyfriend. This was a gift for him. And so I boxed up the one sock for him because I wanted him to try it on before I made the second one. And it was kind of funny just opening a box of one single sock. But whatever. I knit this with K&C Cloudpaca with 4mm needles. This was not the best yarn for this at all because it stretched out so much. I think I made I made size 5 for him on 4mm needles. It looked good at first, you know, because 2x2 shrinks a lot. And so when I had blocked it, it grew so much. And so like it fits his foot really well and his ankle, but then when it gets to the calf, it just like kind of flares out. On this project, I learned that you should probably knit with the recommended yarn because it's recommended for a reason. But I was thinking they're gonna be house socks and I want them to be comfortable for him, so whatever. I think he wore them a couple of times and then we're both too afraid to wash them because I think that it's gonna grow even more. So I did start another pair for him, which is a work in progress for me right now. I'm just so unmotivated to knit socks. I don't know. There's just something about it. I really just don't love the knitting process, honestly. Love the finished project, hate the process. So since that was a flop for him, I started a step-by-step sweater with the intention of gifting that to him maybe for his birthday. And it's still a work in progress. Oops. Love you, Tyler. It is a nice project to have because it's just stockinette, so it's easy and I'm familiar with the pattern. This one I am knitting in the recommended yarn, which is Drops Nepal. I'm excited for that finished object and I know Tyler will be too. We'll get there though. We'll get there. The next project I made is the warm-up sweater by S-Base Tricot, and I knit this in Drops Air in the color beige, which I think is the recommended yarn. This was a lot of fun because this was the first time I'd like properly purchased yarn online and was like really excited about receiving it and that whole thing. You know, you hear a lot about drops in the knitting community and whatever. And so I was just really excited to use that for the first time. I thought that maybe I would be able to tolerate this yarn. I was wrong. I was wrong. I do have to wear like a long sleeve. Well, I can wear a short sleeve underneath it. It just irritates my neck too much. I'm such a sensitive girl. I do like the finished object though, because it's very much like sweatshirt vibes. I just can't wear it as much as I would like to because I have to wear something underneath it. I don't know. I think it would be really cute with like a turtleneck underneath, but I also just don't love that it sheds so much. And I am afraid to wear it too much because it's itchy. And I know that Drops Air doesn't hold up very well. And so I've worn it a couple of times. I don't know. It's just one of those things of like, I had really fun with the process, but I don't love the finished product, you know? I was a psycho and I knit this in like a week. Because I just really wanted like a new sweater. That was a fun time, but yeah, I just don't really touch it as much as I thought I would. I kind of imagined like wearing this sweater every single day on the couch, you know? I have yet to find a sweater like that, but we had the intention. Sometimes things just don't work out. My next project that I made, we're in 2025 by the way, was another Olga sweater. I knit the size extra small and I used Silly Goose Yarns Plump DK in the color Autumn Leaves. This one was really fun because I got the yarn in a D-stash from True Lane, Chelsea of True Lane Knits here on YouTube. This is my first experience of like using hand-dyed yarn. It was really, really fun to see how this yarn was going to work up because it's all speckled and pretty and whatever. I do really love this finished object. I will say I did not alternate skeins and it's fine everywhere except for one of the sleeves. You can kind of tell like where the color changes, but it's so pretty. And I do enjoy the yarn. I can tolerate it. I really like the construction of that sweater. I like the fit. And so I wanted to just have like a non-striped version, basically. So next we have my Stornoway sweater by Cheryl Makhtari. And I started this one with the intention of finishing it with the knit along that those Twins Who Knit and Young Folk Knits put on. This is still a work in progress for me. But I am knitting the size 3 on 5mm needles, and I'm using Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in the color Rust and Drops Alpaca Silk also in the color Rust. I really enjoy the finished object of this pattern, but I was thinking about this, like, why is this still a work in progress for me? I started this in January. For one, I don't think I enjoy the knitting process because every single row is written out. Come to find out, with other projects, I've learned I enjoy charts rather than like written out instructions. So it's just like so tedious to follow because of that. While the pattern is extremely well written, I have nothing to say about that. I just don't enjoy having to read every single step that I have to do. So, and also, I'm not sure that I'm gonna like the alpaca silk. I think it might be a little bit itchy. I don't want to work on a super woolly sweater right now. And also the alpaca silk sheds a lot, so I find little pieces of it like literally everywhere. So I just don't enjoy working on it. I think I will finish it. I do have full intentions of finishing it because I think it would be really nice to have like this fall and winter. But yeah, just unmotivated on that one. It is a beautiful sweater though, I will say. And I absolutely love the color. Yeah, every intention of finishing it. We'll see when we get there. We'll see. I have other priorities right now. So at this point, I started another pair of Sunday socks for my boyfriend Tyler. And I am using the suggested yarn, which is Sandisgarn Perfect in the color Deep Forest Green. These are beautiful, still a whip. I do enjoy the knitting process of this pattern for the most part. I think it's more fun because it's 2x2 rib, and I do like knitting with the yarn, so we'll get to that eventually. These next projects are really sweet and special to me because these are the first baby knits that I ever made for my daughter. This is the Flax sweater by Tin Can Knits, the worsted weight version. And so I made her first sweater in Karen's Simply Soft Speckle in the color Vintage. And it's this beautiful like off-white with like rainbow speckles. I knit the size 0 to 6 months. And I did mostly follow the pattern except for I did like a 2-stitch raglan. The yarn was nice to work with, and it's just really special because it's the first baby knit I made for her. I did try it on her. She's 3 months now, and it fits her now. So, unfortunately, we will not be getting a lot of wear out of this one, but that's okay. It's okay. It was a lot of fun. I then made another flax sweater for her, and this one I just did in a white, and I embroidered her name on it. I knit this in the 6 to 12 month size, so I think hopefully we can wear it this winter. So I embroidered her name on it with some leftover Hue and Me that I had. I knit this sweater to announce her name at my baby shower. So this one is like extra special to me, and I want to hang this up in her room. It's so cute. It turned out so good. I followed a tutorial on YouTube on like how to embroider her name on it because you see those sweaters like all the time for like babies, but I could have purchased one, but I just wanted it to be extra special, and I wanted to make one for her. I did try putting her in it when I was at the hospital with her after I had just had her, and it was way too big. So hopefully it fits her this winter and we can cherish it forever because I'm so proud of that one. So next, that brings us into the scarf number 4 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I knit this in Cardiff Cashmere Classic in the color Hermes with 3.5 millimeter needles. I believe this is the suggested yarn, and this was my first time working with cashmere. You see so much about Cardiff Cashmere in the YouTube world, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, because everyone raves about how soft it is. I was like, I have to be able to tolerate this, right? But it's so expensive. And so I didn't want to purchase like a whole sweater quantity, obviously. So I just got 2 balls of yarn to knit this scarf, and it's really nice. I had a great time knitting this up. I really enjoyed working with the yarn. It's so nice. And I did make one mistake in my scarf where I think I did one or like 2 extra. I think I did an extra garter row at some point, but I mean, nobody else is going to notice that, right? Just such a beautiful color, just a nice little pop of color. And I think I'll get a lot of wear out of that because I also at that point like wanted to make some like winter staples, and that is definitely a great winter staple. I will probably make another one, maybe. I'm not sure if I like the Sophie scarf more or not, just because it's a little bit more simple. But I think maybe if I do make another one, I would make it more like the size of the Sophie scarves I have, so I can wear it more like a handkerchief. So I can wear it more of like a tied bandana look rather than like the little mini scarf look, but anyways, it's super cute. Okay, so at this point I made another hexagon cardigan. I think mainly because the payoff of crochet is just so much faster than knitting, and so I just needed some like instant gratification, right? But then next I made a step-by-step cardigan, which this is my first one. I'm actually wearing it. I knit this in the size 3 with Lion Brand Heartland tweed in the color Black Canyon. Honestly, I just loved the way this yarn looks because of the rainbow speckles. It's so cute. Let me see if I can show you. Yeah, rainbow speckles, adorable. Hello. I will admit to you, I have not put the buttons on this. I did sew on buttons, but when I washed it, one of the buttons broke. Like literally just like broke in half. So I took those off and I have yet to put on new buttons. Don't judge me. Whatever. I love this finished object because it's so practical and I can just chuck it on. But yeah, I definitely want to knit some more. Probably not in acrylic yarn because the next one I have is another step-by-step cardigan because I loved it so much. But this one is a current whip and it's knit in Caron 1 pound in the color truffle. And I am just really learning that I don't like knitting with acrylic yarn. It sucks. It's not a fun time, okay? I'm really struggling to finish that. I really am. While I love the color and I think the finished object will be really nice, I just hate the experience so much that I can't bring myself to pick it up again. We'll see if that ever gets finished. I honestly might frog it. Next, I did my most recent well, I can't say that now. In my first podcast, it was my most recent finished object. And this is the Olga sweater by Petite Knit. Ever since I discovered that pattern, I have been wanting to make a black and white one. But I'm at this point of like, I'm trying to get through a lot of my stash yarns. And so I made this in Big Twist cotton in the color beige and black to use up the rest of my cotton yarn that I've purchased. Mainly that was like to make bandanas for my crochet markets. I knit the size large and I used 4 and 3.5 millimeter needles. While I love the finished object, the yarn is a little bit thick, like because it's cotton, it's a little bit stiff. I've washed it twice and I think it's gotten a little bit better. I don't know, this is a tough one. I think with wear and with washing, it will get a little bit softer, but it kind of is a little bit difficult to wear because it just feels really bulky, but it's cute. I love the finished product for sure. And so I don't want to get into too many details on the last finished object that I have, but the last thing I finished is my Mudo sweater by Sasky & Co. This one is really special to me because it's my first official color work, and I say official color work because I don't even know when, but I purchased the Norma sweater pattern, and this was before she released the drop shoulder version, so I got the raglan version. I saw this project on Ravelry that had used Knitting for Olive and soft silk mohair, and I was so excited about using that. I got halfway through the yoke and just realized that I did not like following this pattern because every single step is written out. That really made me discover that I don't like patterns that are written like that. And so I frogged that. And so this is technically my first finished colorwork sweater. And I am so beyond proud of it. I knit this in Barocca Vintage DK in the color mushroom and red pepper with 4.5 and 4 millimeter needles. Now this is my first circular yoke, and I really enjoy the process of knitting that. I like that construction as well. It fits really nice. It looks really nice. The color work is really clean. I'm so proud. I will cherish that sweater forever. And then also just a little mention of the current project that I'm working on is my Lumme sweater. I did start it. I'm still working on the color work chart, having a lot of fun with it. I cannot wait to talk about that in my next podcast. But yeah, so that concludes like all of the things that I've knit for the most part. There's probably a couple things that I just like have completely forgotten about. This is a hobby that has been so much fun for me because I love working with my hands. The finished objects are so satisfying. And when I find a pattern I really love, it's just so fun to have that like creative spark and like, I need to finish this now. I can't think of anything else but working on this project. Like that is so much fun for me. So I'm really, really grateful to have discovered the knitting community and the YouTube knitting community, because it has really just opened up this whole new world of creativity and excitement. And I love watching people's videos, and I love hearing people talk about the projects that they've been working on, because they're just as excited as me. And I love getting all this inspiration from people's videos. And so hopefully this can inspire you a little bit. Maybe, if not inspire you, at least you can learn from my mistakes. I've been having a lot of fun with this, and I hope to continue this whole YouTube thing for me as well, because it's really nice to have this little creative corner. So I had a lot of fun going over all of the stuff that I've made. I've learned a lot. I'm excited to continue learning, and I can't wait to continue sharing the things that I'm working on. That concludes everything. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end, bless your soul. There was a lot to get through. My next plans, I would say, is, so I'm working on my lumme, and I will probably have a new podcast video here soon. Once I finish that one, I think would be a good time frame. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you're interested. I'd love to have you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.